proposal evaluation off of the responses and that criteria. So right now, we are to the point that we will have a recommendation to hire one of those energy service companies at our July 18th board meeting. Okay, so we're gonna bring forward to you one of those companies. And once we do that, that energy service company will conduct an analysis of the projects. Those are the projects that we've identified. They're on our list. We expect that information to be prepared and brought forward to you. So next board meeting, you approve that energy service company. The following, they will have that list that we've given to them, and that will be brought forward, and then we will tell you what the tax impact would be for each item. Ellers will do that for us, or Ellers will do that analysis on the tax impact. Following that board meeting, Jamie would post a notice, and we enter a petition period. So under Act 32, you're allowed to go out and borrow money without voter approval. Okay, that if there is payback on the projects that you're doing, and if you follow all of the links that I have in the revenue limit exemption. So I couldn't decide if I wanted to put in a brand new playground, because that doesn't qualify. It has to qualify under all of the requirements that the state has identified. The energy service company makes sure that all of the projects identified will qualify. Following that, there's 30 days at which the public can petition the board and require you to go out to referendum. They have 30 days to collect enough signatures that would petition the board to go out to referendum. If that is not done, then what the board does is the board then has the authority to borrow the money to be able to complete those energy efficiency projects, because you have a payback on those projects. Okay, so they created a law for schools to be able to do this.
What is 20%? What number is that about?
So we had to go ask the state how many people voted in the gubernatorial election, and we had, in the last gubernatorial election, over 70% of our voters voted, which was over 5,000 some, and I think 20% was around 1,100 signatures that would need to be done, need to be collected. So following that petition meeting, you would pass a revenue limit exemption resolution and the performance contract with the energy service company. They would go out, and then you would borrow that money. So as a school district, that's the only time really that you can go borrow that money, has to be for those projects. And then those projects would get done.
How many school districts currently in the state of Wisconsin have done something like this, or are in the process of doing something like this?
Oh my gosh, there's quite a few.
Yeah, I know, I think Megan touched on that, didn't she?
Yeah, she did. And that's why I keep sharing all those articles with you, kind of about that. You'll see many do.
I wouldn't even care to guess
Yeah, like-
on how many.
Have you, I mean,
Based
have you
on
seen
that.
any negative from some of the school districts that right now are in maybe the process or have done this, that have gone, have
I've seen
gone
about
referendum?
four
of
that
them?
that have been petitioned to go out to referendum. One of the school districts, they tried to go to referendum to have operating costs to increase their salaries. So they wanted to put a new salary increase, they needed more money. They went to referendum for an operational referendum, it failed. Now they went back out for energy efficiency projects, and the public is upset. So I listened to one of those online, they did it on YouTube, apples to oranges. The district's now asking money to fix things, not to increase, and salary. So there was some controversy there in understanding that. I don't see a lot that petition against it, but I wouldn't be surprised, our energy efficiency projects are only to fix things that we would get payback on. Only to fix things, it's not anything extravagant, it's payback. And what we're gonna bring forward to the board is the list of those energy efficiency projects those are right here on our spreadsheet. These, I'm gonna tell you what it would cost to do those. I'm gonna tell you what it would cost to do those. And if you so choose, you can say, I agree to this group and not that. We're gonna have the energy service contractor give us costs on every one of those, and Kevin, current costs. So the energy service contractor will give us those current costs, which will be very interesting, because these were part of the referendum. Some of these were parts, so it'll be interesting to see how much the markup is.
And is there a reason why two of them declined to bid?
So busy.
Busy.
Busy?
I mean, you look at constructions at a high pace, I mean, builders, everybody's busy. I think that's pretty much the market right now.
So I just wanted to update the board on what is the process. So if you mull this around and you still have questions about this, please give us a call. Brent and Steve and I have been pretty involved in the process. Megan is also available for any questions that you might have. But what we will do is we'll bring forward after our interviews or our assessment of those contractors, an energy service company for you to, at the next board meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, item 8A was posted as a discussion and possible decision, facility plan. Don't see a need for a decision or any motion unless another board member does. These two topics were subtopics of item 8A. So if there's no motion, we'll move forward to item 8B. You okay with that? Item 8B then is discussion and possible decision, review new Neola public comment policy.
We tabled this last time, we didn't have a chance to re-talk about it. I think, does our new public comment policy outline when we do have public comment period and when we do not? And does it define what variance the chairman has when allowing comments, were the questions we were gonna ask. This is what will become in effect come August, unless there's any recommendations for changes.
Are there any recommendations for changes from the board?
I think the board president, whoever they may be, should have this copy available to them at every meeting.
Which we will in e-form once they're updated to our to the school's website, like the policies are today.
It wouldn't hurt to have it posted.
We could also
We're-
share it at every single meeting.
Well, I put it on the north, I mean, we're far from done having raucous public comment period.
The question I would still have, is this consistent with the practices that are done throughout the state? That would be still my concern, because the one thing you don't want to have, you don't want to stifle, quite honestly, positive comments and constructive criticism. You don't want to squash this in this process. And, you know, obviously you have to have order, and the policy is to create order, but you don't want to compromise that quality.
Let's see how these rules will do.
Yeah, 3 minutes is not pretty much it. 3 minutes. Based on this new policy, we don't have anything in our, it's at the board president's discretion today, based on the amount of people in the
Well, I
audience.
guess you have 3 minutes.
Yeah, and you can't transfer. In other words, I'll give you my 3 minutes, that can't happen.
But if you just have 2 people talking, they were not going to report, 3 minutes might be. I mean, if you're,
You could certainly take D and E and just simply eliminate those and say it's at the discretion of our board president to determine the amount of time that's available, to just pull that from our current.
That might be subjective then, quite honestly, I think structure is important there.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm torn by that because we have the board presidents let people talk for no good reason for way too long. Other people that should have had more time. And that's driven by just their own behavior and abilities to cognitively think, I think.
I'm in favor of giving it a try.
I think 3 minutes is reasonable, and if we find ourselves where we think that ends up being a mistake, we can change it.
Well, look at tonight, we didn't have one person that spoke. I don't think you really see it out of the majority. I mean, you probably go back and look at the minutes from other meetings, and I don't think you really see a lot where there's,
I get my 5 years on the board, I can't think of many times where we went down even the 15 minutes identifying item I. Yeah, there's been some occurrence there,
You know,
no trends.
one of the things you see down below in I is that unless extended by a vote of the board, you could put that after 3 minutes and say unless extended by a vote of the board. No,
yeah.
I'd leave it alone.
okay, leave the thing alone.
You know, it's come back.
To answer one of your questions too, Kevin, Neola does this for a lot of school districts. So I think it's tried and true. Whether districts follow this to the T, I can't say, but I'd be willing to bet this is consistent with all the districts that serve us.
So you need to, so it's discussion, possible decision.
I think we only need a decision if there's a change.
Yep.
So if we're not gonna make any changes, we would move on to item C. Anyone wanna make a motion to make a change? And then I'll move on to item C, which is an update on the development of an athletic activities survey committee.
This will be real quick, just an update that Mr. Zebro and myself and, I don't know, what do you think, Zach, 8 or 10 coaches in the room met to discuss their needs. I think it started out talking about a survey, but that ended up being maybe 5% or 10% of the conversation where they had an opportunity to express what satisfies them about coaching, what are the frustrations. And I'll use Zach's word that it became very organic, and I learned a lot from that opportunity to listen to the coaches talk. The next step would probably be to see if any of them have interest in participating as a member of a committee. So that's simply where things are at. I don't see a giant rush to need to accomplish anything other than meet with some people. So that's simply the update.
Any questions from the board? Move on to item 9, which is new business. 9A, discussion and possible decision, renovation of the special education classroom at the high school for students with intellectual disabilities.
So this is that very small classroom that we showed you that services the students with disabilities. What we would look at doing in this classroom is expanding this classroom and changing this whole area. We would actually bust out into the classroom on this side of it during the referendum tours and things that where you saw this classroom. We were going to go back, but we have found through bringing in construction vendors that really going to the left would be better. So we spent quite a bit of time taking a look at having different construction companies come in and give us bids on that. It's an outline of the cost. We would recommend approval tonight. If we were given approval tonight to take this money out of fund balance, it could be completed this summer. So you would renovate this entire classroom. We would renovate the bathroom area. We would bring in some of the functional living skills that they're used. The sink would become handicap accessible, the storage would change, and just being able to move in this classroom would be accomplished.
Is that giving us room then for future
Yeah.
growth?
It's
As
an
well?
entire, so this is really kind of the size of like half a classroom. It's an entire additional classroom, big area. complete area, no walls, no half walls, complete open area. So next school year, there's additional students with disabilities coming into that classroom. That's kind of the biggest, that's why it became such a big concern. And those students are with us, not just 4 years, but often 7 years, because they're with us until age 21.
That bathroom would be enlarged.
Yep, yep, so you could get that hoist and that lift, that wall would be blown out.
That's for a grand total of 46,296, or 68.
$46,268.
I would so move.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? What is the tentative timeline for this project?
Steve?
Well, basically, we are late to the game just because of the timeline we're on, but basically, we would start that project as soon as I get the DNR approval for my asbestos abatement removal. And then, once that happens, we will basically remove that block wall. I'll get the asbestos removed, and then we can start demoing the walls, things of that nature. So, like Dan said, our goal is definitely be done here before school starts. It's gonna be a push, there's no doubt. We have to cut the floors open, cut all the concrete out because the piping all has to get removed and re-pipe it through the walls. So there's a lot of work that's gonna happen in a short amount of time. So if you do approve that project, I mean, trust me, I'm on the phone tomorrow morning getting people now because I gotta get on their schedule, I'm just late, very, very late. So, but just the way it is.
So when I look at this, this is selecting Myron as the construction firm, this is selecting Banner as the electrician. And then the others, it looks like we just have single bids on the plumbing, on the asbestos and the asbestos testing.
Yeah, we have a contract with asbestos testing,
Okay.
so we have that set up. And the reason with the plumbing is, the company that would use for this, they already cut the floor. I should back up, that bathroom that was installed, they retrofitted that, so they already cut the cast iron pipe all apart from the old. They're gonna have to cut that all apart again and reconnect to that. So I need to have someone to know that they did pass that. And a lot of people aren't gonna touch something that somebody else already cut apart. So that's why I wanna use those folks, because they know what's going on.
I just want to be clear, we're selecting in that $46,000 the people that are carried to the right.
Correct.
The numbers carried right.
Yes, that'd be correct.
Okay.
And just a question, is there gonna be any storage in that room? Because
Yes, we're
that
gonna
looks
change
like a
that.
huge- I didn't see
Yeah.
it in there, but yes.
One more question, did we give them kind of what our expectations were, so the finished product
Yes.
is consistent with what our expectations are?
Right, well, basically, Matt, we took that room and I drew it on AutoCAD and I showed it with Sue how we're connected with the plumbing's gonna connect us, that portion's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So like Dan said, that room will become a large box. So as this progresses as well, you have opportunities to move things around or change what you want. We're just not gonna put ourselves in a defined corner.
The biggest thing would be the sink and
The bathroom.
washer and
accessible.
dryer.
Yep,
Kitchen.
which is not in there currently, so we're gonna have to cut that
Right.
in.
So the kids now currently have to leave and go down the hall to that closet, and now they'll be able to do all of that.
Right, and give them some room on that wall. So, and also, the big thing for the restroom is having a drop-down stanchion section that's legal by code now. It's happening in the hospital, so that's what we have to have happen on that wall, which will give our staff room to get in there and then give safety to the occupant who's in that area, because right now, we just don't need to do.
And so the board knows the adjacent classroom's a math classroom, which is a pretty common type classroom. It can be fitted elsewhere between the schools. So we do have a motion and a second. Further discussion from the board? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 9D is the discussion of possible decision developing a proposal for the renovation of the 3 science labs at the high school.
So this has been high on our priority list, and what we tried to do is get numbers. And it was really difficult, as you even saw on the bid for when we were at referendum, we got several different bids. There was quite a variance in those bids that we got for the science rooms. So we went back to the contractors, we had Myron in, we had several of the contractors in, and there is a big variance. So defining what the scope of that project is came to the heart of why we're bringing this forward. I really need it clearly defined, clearly drawn out, because it could be different. So when we sat down and we interviewed the science teachers and just had a discussion with them, and they looked at those 3 spaces. Those spaces are so small that only 20-some kids. I could never have a science classroom with 29 kids or 30 kids in it, I couldn't, they don't fit. So when we looked at that tight space, we then started to talk about, what about these 3 classrooms, and then moving the chemical storage that we have across the high school to where it should be by the chemistry rooms. Anyway, after bringing in multiple contractors and vendors, we realized we need to have to clearly understand the scope of it, which is why we would do, bring in Blue Design.
Make a motion, we approve the development proposal for the renovation of 3 science labs at the high school.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second, further discussion from the board.
And am I correct in understanding that by approving this, then we would hire Blue Design Group? And do we have an estimate on the overall cost of that?
What Blue Design would do is they would define the scope of it through their drawings and through their expertise. They would then, they would go out and they would seek proposals for what it would cost. And we would bring those forward to you for approval. So just what Steve did in our last, you know how Steve did all of this? That was easy because it's pretty much a box and Steve could do that. But what we really need to understand is with that acid pit, with that plumbing, with all of those things, I've got to have a plan first in order to be able to give to Myron, to give to Samuels, to give to all of those people.
Okay.
But could we take some of what we had in the last referendum, so he's not really, when Blue Design's coming in there, they're gonna be able to take some of what's
He's gonna
already
be able to
done.
hit the ground, right,
Get a
right.
head start.
Yeah.
Yeah, and really, that's why we're recommending that, rather than to bring a total brand new. And if I do bring, say, because we had long discussions on this, does Myron just have their own architect? Does Samuels just have their own architect? But they all kind of speak differently, and we wanted to be able to have, this is the scope of the project, this is what we've defined, now tell us what the cost would be.
That's actually really smart. Most projects fail because they're not scoped properly. So, would the faculty that met with you be part of that?
Yes, Steve would sit down with those science teachers and the faculty, and they would talk about that.
Could an output be a list of all the curriculum that would be, I'll call it, improved or modified with these changes?
Sure.
I think that's an intrinsic value that we need to make people aware of.
Mhm. Yeah, I think both Mr. Lai and I think a number of those teachers would be able to say that because they said they simply can't do some things because of the layout. So I think they'd be excited to share that.
This is along the lines of a summer 2018 project then, I assume?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries as well. Item number 10 is the building committee meeting report.
We had 2 items on our agenda this evening. We heard an update on the MCAA sports complex. This information's in your packet. Of note is the Thursday, July 20th cookout for appreciation of the work that the Guard will be doing on the complex. I would recommend you to attend and thank the soldiers. Item number B was our ongoing facility issues. A couple of things that were outlined. Steve showed some pictures of the 1975 boiler project being removed, the old stuff being taken out, and the new, more efficient stuff brought in. And he talked to us a little bit about what was done to improve the armory storage shed and the pump house project. Any questions about those projects, direct them to Mr. Kaiser. Otherwise, that's all I have to report.
Any questions?
Yeah, how many soldiers generally show up, like would be at?
Everybody is there because they got nothing else to do.
Right, I mean, is it like 100 or is it 50 or?
I plan on feeding 150.
Okay, thank you.
Additional questions from the board? Move on to item number 11, which is the personnel committee meeting report. Number of items, the first one I'll handle separately. It's the acceptance of a part-time high school English teacher's resignation. As a committee, we move to accept the resignation, and I'll make the motion, we accept the resignation.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second, further discussion from the board?
Aye.
Further discussion from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Sorry.
If we want to talk about it, we can. Follow protocol, good man. We will move on and group the next 3 items together, which is item B, approval of a high school special education LD teacher. Item C, approval of a kindergarten teacher hire. And item D, approval of a gifted and talented STEM coordinator hire. The committee met, reviewed the information on all 3 applicants, and made the decision to approve their hiring. So I'll make the motion to approve the hiring of these 3 individuals.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item E is discussion and possible decision, 2 additions to Appendix G, the miscellaneous compensation model. Looking at moving creating a new position for the Motown market. The individual that oversees it as a Class C position. And the middle school soccer program, it used to be a
Co-ed.
co-ed, three sections. Now it's going to boys, girls, and with the amount of kids that are going out, we've had 3 coaches in the past. We need a 4th coach. So based on the information shared at the committee meeting, the committee made the decision to approve both of those additions to Appendix G. And I'd make the motion that we approve both of those additions to Appendix G as well.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries as well. The last item for purposes of the full board is item F, discussion and possible decision on the approval of an additional 4K paraprofessional position. The committee made the decision to move forward with that hiring, and I would make the motion that as a full board we do as well. So we have a motion and a second. Further discussion?
Just to make sure the notes reflect it, this addition is for the 2
Section.
sections.
Further discussion from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries as well. There were no additional resignations, retirees, or hires that we need to discuss. And new extracurricular hires, the information is in your board packet. So unless there's questions from the board, we're going to move on to item number 12, which is the Finance Committee meeting report. Mr. Kaiser.
Thank you. Earlier this evening, we approved the voucher list for $1,502,203.94. Postmarked June 20th, 2017. Also moved.
I'll second.
Have a roll call vote?
Kramer,
Yes.
Keel,
Yes?
Tomcheck,
Yes.
Zebro,
Yes.
Alice,
Yes.
Yes.
Barnes, Lewis,
Yes.
Gorman,
Yes.
Kaiser,
Yes.
9 yes.
On the Mosinee Treasurer's Report, month ending May 31st, 2017, dated June 6th, 2017. I would so move.
I'll second.
Roll call vote?
Gorman,
Yes.
Kaiser,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
Keel,
Yes.
Tomcheck,
Yes.
Zebro,
Yes.
Alice,
Yes.
Yes.
Barnes, Lewis,
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, item C, discussion and possible decision, acceptance of actuary report. Item 1 and item 2, we'll do one each. Post-retirement benefits evaluation report under GASB 45 expense development of fiscal year beginning July 1, 2016. It saved us, we had to spend $4,500 and we got a $37,000 return on doing this actually. And I would so move.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 2, post-retirement benefit variation report under GASB 68 expense development for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2016. I would so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That ends my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Mr. Kaiser. Item number 13, other reports. WASB report, correspondence, and upcoming meetings.
Yes, same as last month, we just have the one, seminar to go to, and that is July 14th and 15th, what Ann has up there. I think it would be a really good conference for any of the board members to go to. I will be out of town, so I will not be, but anybody else, I would do it. That's all I got.
Thanks, Mrs. Zebro. Item B is the CISA 9 correspondence and report from monthly meeting.
It should be on your webcam. But
Yeah.
to enhance that, there was a presentation excellence in teaching program, elementary. And another one was a presentation of financial report for monthly claims, new business, and administrative report.
Thank you. Item number 14 is future agenda items. If anyone has anything for this evening, speak now. And I'll add that if you don't, if something comes up, feel free to email me and myself.
The next curriculum and standards committee meeting, is there a posted date for that?
As soon as Julie takes over.
Okay.
So it'll come in September. September is the
September?
first date. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to add an agenda item on the discussion of vision, goals, objectives, and the tasks and roles of that group. And the second line item I have here is that our team here has been appointed liaison for engagement with high school, middle school, and the elementary school. What does that really mean? What does that really look like? I'd like to have an appreciation for what the expectations for that are and what the opportunities are. Some of the previous criticism, quite honestly, was engagement of the board with the various schools. This may be an opportunity for us to engage and get different exposure that's to benefit everyone.
Is that something we would develop in your mind, Kevin?
I
Or
think,
develop in conjunction with a subset of individuals within the schools we represent? What are your thoughts there?
I think the administration, we should seek their input, quite honestly, and how they see us being of value, not only to their role, but also to the faculty's role and to the students.
Okay.
Would, could I put that as part of the data retreat for the team lead, because the team leaders come together in August, and if I post that to each one of those school teams on what they feel, and then bring that forward following that data retreat, I could pose that as a question to them?
That'd be fine.
Get started
You know,
on it?
just a collaborative way of approaching it, that's what I'm asking
So
for.
that would be September meeting, right?
Yeah.
Is that data retreat late July or late August?
Late August, or early August.
And the last item here, I feel pretty good myself about what was presented here for a plan. Is everybody comfortable with the plan that was submitted by Ann on facility planning? Otherwise, WASB would entertain coming in and visiting with us. And I'm okay with what was presented here tonight.
I would note that the reconciliation done between what they felt was the steps they would take and the work we had done, I felt pretty comfortable with the product we have in hand currently,
Okay.
but I'm only one board member.
You are the best.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you,
I have
Mr.
two
President.
things I'd like to ask, and I can't remember if we were talking, I know we talked about this a while ago, Ann, but the school counselors, we talked about how they're not on the evaluation chart as the same as the teachers, because there was nothing in the matrix at that time. Is there something currently in place so that we are using right now, so it's in that same type of model?
Yep,
Okay.
that we use for school counselors, that was added to the EE.
Okay, perfect. And then the other thing I wanted to ask is about cell phone usage in schools. I mean, now that the kids have Chromebooks, do they really need to have their cell phones in the classrooms?
That's dependent upon each teacher. Like, I can walk into one teacher's classroom and I see a box that says deposit my cell phone. I can walk into another one and they may have me checking and doing it. It's really dependent upon what the teachers want to do.
Do we think it's wise though with things you see in the media now with kids, you know, posting videos, taking pictures, you know, the bullying? I mean, to me, I can tell you right, I know I had to go into school many times to pick up my kid's cell phone because they had it in the classroom. I just think it's another, I would like to kind of discuss that a little bit further, maybe bring that back as an item just to see what staff thinks. What's their viewpoint on having them in the classrooms and,
It must be an issue because the high school had a survey about it, so they must have, I saw the high schools have a survey about
Okay.
it. So I know that at their end of the year, they were changing some things, and I know that as part of one of their end of the year surveys, it was a discussion. I think it has to come from them and let that high school team decide what their,
so is that something they can bring forward to us later just to see what they
Sure.
think, and maybe from all the schools as well as the middle school?
sure.
Because I
And
mean,
it really is dependent upon that teacher.
Yep.
It really, really is. And will we get to the point that Madison did, where they cut off some social media avenues? Like you can't access Facebook in Madison, you can't access Instagram, you can't access, I'm not sure.
well, and I just know for, you know, my oldest was in a school, and the kids, the whole time that he was giving a speech that he went to, actually, your nephew's school, the whole time the kids are like this, not even paying attention to what he was doing, and I think we're losing some of that, and it's just something that'd be interesting to bring back.
Agreed. I do, let them.
Don't we have a policy that we just, quite honestly, went through and developed? With Neolia?
There is, and
That
it's
would
up
need to
to
be
discretion,
revisited.
yeah.
That's probably the starting point.
Yeah, maybe bring that back a little.
Well, we have a survey results that we don't know what prompted the survey or what the results are either, so maybe bringing all that together.
I know that it's a discussion at the high
That'd be
school,
great.
and I know it is. And I know that some people feel really strong this way and some people feel really strong that way.
Right.
I know that the administration and that Scott, I would say you support whatever that teacher's wishes are.
Yep.
So if he's got somebody, I'm sure that they said put it away and they didn't put it away, it's probably sitting on Scott's desk.
He sure is.
Mr. Tompkins, you want to add something?
Are we planning Jeannie's return party?
Jeannie's planning it.
How many months you have left?
I'm not gonna tell you days.
I think it's through summer.
I think
I
we
don't know, I'll
did
put
that,
something
Steve
together
and
for you.
Brent to get together and just come up with an annual fee of the pool cost.
Okay.
And they have to cut money.
You wanna know what the annual fee we collect?
No, just.
$3,000.
Cost
Cost,
to
oh,
us,
all
to
right.
run it a year.
to run
Per
it.
year,
I think
right?
the way to answer that question is, if we shut the pool down, what would the net savings
Yeah,
to
that's what he
the
wants.
district be in a year?
It's funny you talk about that. I said to Ann, probably me hanging from the rafter, because I said, when you look at it, it's a pretty passionate item for a lot of people.
Sometimes
And
there's
so
a-
Ann, we were talking about that before.
There's a
the board.
sacrifice people need to make for their,
Mosinee used to have a pool pass, you used to sew it on your swim trunks. We'll look at a pool pass.
You do during the summer have pool passes.
Does it cost something?
Yes.
Yes.
We'll raise it.
Oh, all right.
I will tell you, I knew today by 7 AM that something was wrong with the pool because I already got a phone call on it, so. It is a very passionate thing for many people in the community.
We're not the Mosinee Pool District.
Yep.
Anything else from the board?
Make the motion to adjourn?
No, we're not gonna adjourn yet. We have
We're
one
close.
short item in closed session. Item 15 is movement in closed executive session pursuant to section 19.851C of the Wisconsin statute for the purpose of discussing an employee's performance. Section 19.851C reads, consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which a governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility.
I will make the motion to go.
I'll second.
The motion is second to go into closed session. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We'll be in closed session once we leave, everyone leaves the room.